Different arts. Activity 2. Unit 4. Baroque. 17th and early 18th centuries. Was a art style and architecture very ornate, dramatic and realistic, that was popular in Europe. Caravaggio and Rembrandt were Baroque painters. Baroque artistic style. Baroque art is characterized by drama, detailed ornamentation, and strong contrasts between light and shadow. Influential Baroque artists. Caravaggio, Rembrandt, and Rubens shaped Baroque art through their mastery of light, emotion, and composition. Baroque architecture and sculpture. Baroque architecture and sculpture feature excessive ornamentation and dynamic forms to evoke emotion. Historical and cultural context. The Baroque style emerged amid religious and political tensions during the Counter-Reformation, emphasizing emotional and persuasive art. Romanticism. Early 19th century. Was an art of style exotic, emotional, that portrayed an idealized world and nostalgia for the past. William Blake was a member of the Romantic school of painters' core Romanticism themes. Romanticism emphasizes emotion, nature, individual freedom, and the sublime beyond rationalism. Artistic expression. Romantic artists portrayed intense feelings, dramatic historical scenes, and deep emotional states. Cultural and national identity. Romanticism relates to nationalism and the exaltation of cultural traditions and heritage. Influential Romantic artists. Artists like Goya, Delacroix, and Friedrich shaped Romanticism with themes of beauty, darkness, and spirituality. Impressionism. Late 19th century. Was a style developed in France. It tried to visually capture the subjects using color instead of lines. Claude Monet and Pierre-Auguste Renoir were Impressionist painters' artistic style and techniques. Impressionism focuses on light, color, and loose brushstrokes to capture fleeting moments and subjective perception. Common subjects. Typical subjects include landscapes, urban scenes, and human figures in natural settings with dynamic atmospheres. Key artists. Notable artists include Monet, Renoir, and Degas, known for their innovative and influential Impressionist works. Historical impact. Impressionism broke academic conventions, influencing later movements like Post-Impressionism and Expressionism. Post-Impressionism. Late 19th century and early 20th century. Focused more on personal emotion and symbolic meaning. Vincent van Gogh and Paul Gauguin were Post-Impressionists' artistic evolution from Impressionism. Post-Impressionism evolved from Impressionism, emphasizing subjective and symbolic aspects beyond visual focus. Key artists and contributions. Artists like Van Gogh, Cézanne, and Gauguin introduced emotional depth, compositional structure, and spiritual symbolism. Influence on modern art. Post-Impressionism laid foundations for Expressionism, Fauvism, and abstraction, exploring art as introspection. Expressionism. Early 20th century. Interpreted the things around them in an exaggerated, distorted, and emotional way. Edvard Munch was one of the best-known Expressionist painters' origins and purpose. Expressionism began in early 20th century Germany to express intense emotions of anxiety and alienation. Artistic characteristics. Artists used vivid colors, exaggerated shapes, and dramatic compositions to distort reality and convey feelings. Cultural impact. Expressionism influenced cinema, literature, theater, and inspired later movements like abstract expressionism. Pop art. After 1950. Art movement that emerged in England and the United States, used materials from the everyday world of popular culture. Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein were pop artists' origins and characteristics. Pop art emerged in the 1950s and 60s in the UK and US, inspired by popular culture and mass media. It features bright colors and commercial imagery. Artistic techniques. Artists used reproduction techniques and vibrant visuals to blur lines between high art and popular culture, often with irony and critique. Key artists. Notable artists include creators known for celebrity portraits, comic-inspired works, and pioneering pop art styles. Impact on contemporary art. Pop art transformed contemporary art by expanding artistic expression and audience engagement through popular culture themes. Minimalism. The 1950s through the 1970s. Minimalist paintings and sculptures were very simple in how they were presented and represented. Richard Serra was a minimalist artist. Core characteristics. Minimalism emphasizes simplicity, basic geometric forms, and reduction of unnecessary elements to focus on essence. Artistic techniques. Artists use industrial materials and repetitive techniques to create direct aesthetic experiences without complex symbolism. Influential artists. Notable minimalists include creators of modular sculptures, geometric paintings, and serene delicate compositions. Cultural impact. Minimalism influenced architecture, design, and music with its focus on formal purity and perceptual clarity. Abstract expressionism. Mid-20th century. Emphasized form and color rather than an actual subject. Jackson Pollock and Willem de Kooning were abstract expressionists. Movement origins and style. Emerging in 1940s America, this style emphasizes spontaneity and deep emotional abstraction through gestural brushwork. Techniques and expression. Artists used methods like dripping and action painting to vividly convey energy and emotional intensity. Impact and legacy. This movement shifted the Global Art Center to New York and influenced future movements such as conceptual art and minimalism. Surrealism. The 1920s. Drew on images from artists' imaginations and dreams. Spanish painters Salvador Dalí and Joan Miró were Surrealists' origins and influences. Surrealism emerged in the 1920s, inspired by psychoanalytic theories exploring the subconscious and dreams. Artistic characteristics. Surrealist art features dreamlike images, strange juxtapositions, and symbolism that defy logic and rationality. Notable artists and techniques. Artists like Dalí, Magritte, and Ernst used unique techniques such as frottage, collage, and visual paradoxes. Legacy and influence. Surrealism influenced cinema, literature, and philosophy and continues inspiring contemporary art exploring the irrational. Cubism. Early 20th century. Was a style of art that stressed basic abstract geometric forms. Pablo Picasso was a Cubist painter. Cubism origins and leaders. Cubism began in the early 20th century, led by Picasso and Braque, revolutionizing traditional perspective. Analytical and synthetic cubism. Analytical cubism fragments images into overlapping planes, while synthetic cubism adds vivid colors and decorative elements. Impact on modern art. Cubism influenced modern art movements like Futurism and Constructivism, reshaping visual representation. Juan Gris and structure. Artist Juan Gris contributed clear and harmonious structure to Cubist compositions.